Hello and welcome to hashtag CRA Arthritis. We're very excited over here at ACE to be hosting the CRA Arthritis event at the 2026 Canadian Rheumatology Association and Arthritis Health Professions Association annual scientific meeting on Arthritis Broadcast Network in Halifax from April 16th to 18th. This is the 12th year of hashtag CRA Arthritis, and we're joined by ACE's president, Cheryl Koehn. Cheryl, welcome.
Thank you. It's super cool to be here. 12 years. Unreal, hey?
It is, and if there are a few people out there who have not heard or are not familiar with this event, what is hashtag CRA Arthritis and why did ACE create it?
So, great place to start, Kelly. For people who haven't tuned in before, um, ACE created this program because one, very few people with arthritis get to actually attend a scientific meeting like this, whether it's being hosted here in Canada or in the United States or in Europe. And we wanted to bring the science to people with arthritis, all types of arthritis. And we wanted to do it in a really timely and cost efficient way, Kelly. And so 12 years ago, we had this, kind of wild idea to set up a studio at the meeting and catch clinical scientists, clinicians, basic scientists, people who work in administration in arthritis, and bring them into the Arthritis Broadcast Network studio and interview them about the science they were presenting at the meeting. So it really was about taking the opportunity you and I have when we go to the meeting to learn and then translate it into information programming, education programming for ACE, but to do it in a really cool, kind of street savvy way. That was the goal of hashtag C Arthritis, was to take, you know, this science and bring it out to the people that tune in to our channel. Was a way to make science available.
And, one of the questions I get quite often when we do this event is they hear a couple of terms that they're not really quite clear on. They hear about studies that are based on basic research and others that are clinical research. And obviously, our job with this event is to translate that so they can understand it. But those two different types of studies that we are trying to convey to our audience, what are the definitions behind those two different types of research?
So basic science is, I mean, it's kind of in the name. It's usually pre-human, right? It happens in a lab.
Okay.
It often happens, in a test tube, in high microprocessors now. There's all kinds of fancy equipment. There is still animal research being done, but it's really research at the biological level, at the cellular level. So it's pre-human, but also can then move into humans. And that's when you start involving humans in the research, that's generally known as clinical research, Kelly. So where you actually take what's developed in the lab, proven to be safe, usually in animals, and then they start trials in humans in very small numbers at first, and then you start, moving them into larger numbers and start doing dose ranging studies, which dose is the right dose to be giving people. Then you move it into broader clinical trials, Kelly, where you really need the numbers of people testing the medicine or the therapy. And then that's the data that they take and provide to the a regulator, such as Health Canada, to seek approval for their medicine. So I mean, in my lay terms, I think of basic science as before it gets to a human being. And clinical science is when it moves into people like me, someone living with rheumatoid arthritis who may not have benefited from the science that's available today, but they look forward to the future science coming down the pipeline.
I think those are helpful definitions for our
Yeah.
audience. And when you described earlier how our goal with this program is to translate those research findings and making it convenient for people to access them on their computer or phone or iPads, that's really what this program is all about. And just a reminder to our audience that ACE's digital platform, Arthritis Broadcast Network, will air these interviews with the leading rheumatologists and researchers and patient advocates that you've been describing, Cheryl, and allied healthcare professionals on the ABN YouTube, Facebook, and X pages using the hashtag CRA arthritis. So make sure to look out for that, and we'll provide links at the end of this session. So we translate this information for people to be able to understand. And what impact does that have? What have you seen in terms of how patients use this information, ask questions, or you even use it for self-advocacy when they're dealing with the healthcare professionals?
So, as a starting point, Kelly, this information, when it gets out to people like us, people living with a type of arthritis, it helps them understand. I think it just helps paint a fuller picture, if you will, of what's available in terms of treatment or knowledge, if you will, about a particular therapy or subject matter. So remember, this science can be clinical, so it's like a therapy choice conversation that you may be having with your healthcare team, or it could be something around mental health or sleep or fatigue. So something that is not necessarily thought to be clinical, right? But the research is usually collected in data through the clinical environment, but on a topic that is something that happens to you at home, your sleep, right? Your basic wellness or overall quality of life. And translating this information is really, I think, so important for people because, they're people with arthritis are facing choices and decisions every day in their lives. If not about their treatment or their care, Kelly, then about what they're able to manage in a day. And in terms of their energy or their strength or their ability or inability to function. And the information we're getting to them is breaking news. It's coming, it's being presented for the first time very often at the Canadian Rheumatology Association and Arthritis Health Professions Association annual scientific meeting. So people are getting it like in real time. So that's super important. So real-time information translated into language we hope is understandable. And if not, we're here to clarify for people if we haven't quite got it clear enough in one of these interviews. And then three, turning around and actually utilizing it. So putting it to work. And that's where health literacy comes into play, Kelly. So we feel this program, this campaign, this event in its 12th year is helping to raise health literacy in arthritis, right? It's helping at the grassroots level build people's knowledge so that they feel more comfortable and confident to make decisions about their health care, whether it's a medicine, whether it's about some other type of treatment approach, or something that has to do with relationships, right? Like it covers all the bases.
One one final question. Cheryl, you're one of the country's leading patient educators, and we know that people living with arthritis have all sorts of challenges when it comes to managing not just their disease, but their time. So, if you could give one piece of advice to people with arthritis about staying informed and engaged in their care, what would it be?
Well, one, I'd be remiss if I didn't say subscribe to our programs
Oh,
with jointhealth.org, right? You can subscribe, and we send out a couple of pieces of information a week. And if you want to read it, it's there. If you don't, or watch it or listen to it, if you don't want to, you can file it away for later. It's on-demand programming. So that's kind of the beauty of what we're offering for free. We're a not-for-profit. So it's always there. So I would say subscribe to jointhealth.org. I would say follow Arthritis Broadcast Network and subscribe to the YouTube channels because those have programming coming out all the time. And Arthritis Broadcast Network also collects other news that isn't being made by ACE, but is being made out in the world. And knowing that it's credible, it's vetted, and so that gives people the assurance that it's not sort of quackery or things people have made up. Unfortunately, when people sit down at their computer or on their phone or their tablet and they type in the word arthritis, you'd be surprised what you get, Kelly. And not all of it is good. In fact, a lot of it is quite erroneous in terms of what they're proposing to be facts. So I think ACE can help with that through this programming. So I guess those would be my big ones: is plug in, get connected to us, get connected to others in our community. We are a very big village. And there are groups in arthritis doing research, both basic and clinical. There are groups who are doing education information like ourselves. There are groups that really focus on participation in research. So we're just this huge village. So I would say plug in, be a joiner, and join to the degree, to the level of sort of participation that you want, whether it's just reading and watching, or kind of getting both feet into the pool and swimming, just diving in.
I think those are a great way to end the interview. Cheryl, thank you for sharing that with us. And thanks to our audience for plugging in today and hopefully following our program. And I think we also want to say special thanks to the CRA and the AHPA for featuring our program again at their annual meeting. Once again, those dates are April 16th to 18th in Halifax, and we will be running these interviews throughout the month, and they will be accessible throughout the year. So thanks again for joining us. See you again soon.